So the next section we're going to take a look at, albeit fairly shortly because we have an entire set of videos dedicated to information architecture, laying out your site, keyword research, competitive analysis. These are areas where you really should be spending the majority of your time, and that's why we'll spend the majority of our time on the videos in those areas as well. You don't need to worry about this, a lot of the stuff that we covered, the meta keywords again, the heading tags aren't nearly as important as this type of thing now. How you lay out your site is going to be hugely important to how you ultimately rank and how well your site does. So setting these things up ahead of time is very, very important. And like I said, we have videos dedicated just to this type of thing. So you'll see that here's our example of our spreadsheet where we laid out Brainwave Toys and we made sure we had our organization all in place. This is going to be really huge to your internal anchor text, and the site organization is going to dictate which pages get the most link juice and therefore the better rankings. So we won't dive too deep into this right now, but just know that when you watch those videos, this is the areas that you should really be spending the majority of your time versus worrying about whether italics or bold is more important. If you've heard the old adage, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, this is the perfect example of that. Your keyword research, your information architecture is going to be critically important to your internal linking structure. And internal linking structure is one of the very, very important elements of SEO actually. So it's how you lay out your site, how you interlink your pages. This can really make a big difference, especially on a large scale site that has a lot of external links that's in a competitive marketplace. This is the type of thing that can really make the difference, and this is why we optimize. This is why being optimal is enough to beat somebody sometimes better than you, because you've done it the right way and they were just arrogant enough to think that the search engines would figure it out for them. So internal linking, definitely hugely important. We'll go into this over and over and over again, and a couple examples. When you're linking, another question that I often get is relative versus absolute linking. Relative link is if you just do the page name and you link that, and an absolute link is if you type the entire top level domain slash the page name, and that would be an example of an absolute link. In 99.99999% of cases, I would say always go with absolute links. I'm sure there's some reason to go with relative links. It used to be smaller when page size was more of an issue, but at this point, just go with absolute links. That way, you won't get scraped. You'll make it easier. You'll make it harder for sites to steal your content. Just go with absolute links with your internal linking structure. So why is this so important? It's so important because of the internal anchor text of your links. What your pages say your other pages are is ultimately going to reflect what it is. So if I'm linking to my web analytics page and it says web analytics, it should be a web analytics page, and that's going to help tell Google, tell the search engines, tell people that that's what this page is about. So it's really important to take advantage of these. And by taking advantage of these, we just mean be consistent. Be consistent in your language and how you're linking to your different pages. Don't link to 10 different pages with web analytics in the anchor text. Pick one, at most two, that say web analytics or SEO, and use those as the targets for your keyword or for your rankings in the search engine. They're going to be used by the search engines. They're very important to the search engines. It's very important to be consistent here and to plan this internal linking structure ahead of time. Don't try to go back and retrofit this kind of thing. It's really important to do that planning from the onset and do it before you ever even get into creating and developing the site. You should have all this stuff spec'd out in a spreadsheet, on a mind map, drawn someplace on note cards to say exactly which keywords are going to be for which pages and the overall information architecture, the skeleton of your sites. So a real brief example of why this is so critically important, reintroducing that idea of block level analysis in the body text, seeing those links in the body text is a little bit more valuable than the navigation, and therefore you're probably going to be doing most of those manually. You don't want to go back through and have to change those manual links throughout hundreds or thousands of pages later because you decided to change where that anchor text should go. It's going to be very difficult. You don't want to go back and have to retrofit something like that. So even with your navigation, there's importance to the anchor text with your footer, with everything else. There's important to that anchor text, but within the body text, it's going to be most important. So make sure that you do your IA your information architecture planning, and your keyword research and your competitive research before you ever start building and writing and doing all the on-page kind of information. It's going to be the most beneficial. It's going to be the most important. You have to do it up front so you don't see the site. But even if you have to go back and re-engineer this thing, re-engineer these types of things, it's still the time best spent because the impact it can make is so huge compared to those very nominal benefits of things like H1 tags and even something fairly significant like alt text. Information architecture and keyword research is going to be so much more important in your overall strategy in the long-term scheme of things.